What's up, EV Clan? Alex Espion here, and welcome back to the next episode of the Pokemon Red Randomizer. This is episode 11, and put simply, our mission today is to defeat the stupid trainer who ended our first run. I believe she is right down here. This woman right down here. She is the troublemaker who sent out a Ghastly to our team full of normal type move using Pokemon and ruined everything, ending the run that got us where we got the farthest. But no longer! For this run, we will get farther than that first run. We will surpass her! I'm putting it out into the universe. Positive vibes, we will beat her. But first, let's get our encounter. For this route, it's Cubone. I think we can pretty effectively weaken this. Now, I feel much safer about this, though, if we were in later gens, because then I have Levitate, and I wouldn't have to take these super effective ground-type moves. However, I'm not switching out of Andrew just yet. I don't think that's a good idea, because Vaporeon wouldn't be able to weaken this thing. We kind of need to keep Andrew in, even though it's kind of scary. So, we gotta... let's prepare for the crit. Just in case he does crit, make sure that, he doesn't kill by healing. Okay, good. We play around the crit. You always play around the crit in Nuzlocke, especially if you're me. Because if it can crit, if the move can crit, then it will. That's why I always loved that Pokemon with Shell Armor, because it just... there's an entire variable of the game that's just gone if my Pokemon has Shell Armor. Like, that's no longer something I have to worry about. And even when I have a Pokemon with Shell Armor, I still end up worrying about crits, because I forget that I have a Pokemon with Shell Armor. I have to deal with crits that often. I don't think a crit kills here, but I'm kind of scared anyway. You know what, we've weakened it down, so we might as well swap out to Olivia just to be safe, because Olivia obviously can take these bone clubs a lot better. It's not super effective. So, okay, Growl. We don't even have to see how we take these. Hopefully it just gets in this first ball, and then that's the end of this. And it'll just be no worries, hopefully. And if we get this Cubone, that's a Marowak later on, which is Olivia, again. The return of Olivia the Marowak. That's fun. So yeah, we did get the Cubone, and I'm gonna name this one Alice. Because I like Alice. Maybe it's just because it's so close to Alex, but I think Alice is a great name. My brother likes Alice in Wonderland a lot. I think it's pretty cool. I watched the live-action one recently that takes place when she's, like, a teenager, and I think that one's way better. Sorry to all those nostalgia people who like, oh, I grew up watching the original one by Disney, and it's like, okay, yeah, but, like, that one didn't have the freaking dragon thing. I don't remember what it's called. The Jabberwock? Is that what it's called? I think it's the Jabberwock. But the original, like, Disney one did not have that. And the live-action one did, so I think the live-action one is just better. And I also thought it was comical to see Alice in a suit of armor. Overall, just, like, it's a very different vibe. Like, if you like the first one better, I get it. I understand. The first one was pretty funny, like, pretty interesting. The way they painted the world was cool. But, like, come on. The second one, like, is just... it's just good. It's just very different movies, so it's hard to compare them. But I'd say both are just good. However, I personally prefer that live-action one. I love the mouse that just, like, stabs out the animal's eye, like they have like the beast. And then the mouse, like, it's funny, because it's ironic, because, like, there's a puny little mouse, you wouldn't think that the mouse would be, like, a fighter. But they have a sword, and they just go at it, and it's awesome. So yeah, I'm just gonna grind up Alice a little bit, because I'm not a fan of losing Pokemon instantly. I want to reduce the chances of that happening as much as physically possible, so I'm just gonna start off doing a little bit of grinding, and I will beat that girl this episode. I'm putting it into the universe. I'm not even accepting the possibility. I'm accepting me losing as a possibility. I'm not even gonna say that there's a possibility I'll lose. I win. I'm going to win. I'm going to beat her this episode. It's happening. She will not continue to stand in my way. She will not continue to be the blockade I do not pass. I will beat her in this episode. Mark my words. We're gonna heal just to be do we need a heal? I don't think we need a heal, because I think we just kill here. But just to be safe, I'm gonna heal. Just to be safe. There's nothing bad ever comes from being safe. Unless you try to preserve one Pokemon's life, and in doing so, make a bad switch, and then... See, look, it wouldn't have killed. That's why it pays to be careful. However, I know that this one will. Thank goodness. That could have missed. And that could have missed, and they could have crit. And maybe if they didn't crit, it still would have killed me. I don't really know. I wasn't doing like damage calculations in my head. I wasn't paying much attention to how much damage it was doing. But it might have just killed without a crit, even. Like, that may have been a gigantic risk that I didn't need to take, but I wasn't wasting another potion. I guess it's not necessarily wasting, though, if you're doing it for a good cause, and I feel like keeping alive the Pokemon I just caught that I was so hyped about getting is a pretty good cause, so I probably should have just used the potion, but you know what? It's fine! Lady Luck smiled upon me just this once. So thank you, Lady Luck. But, going back over there, I do feel kind of unsafe about grinding on that route just because of how, like, difficult that battle was to get out of. Like, it wasn't, like, super difficult, but I'd rather not waste resources while grinding, and I feel like fighting a Pokemon that is equal to our level, or possibly greater than our level, is just going to have us wasting resources, but at the same time, the route before that, I think is, like, level 3 everything, so I don't think I don't think it provides us with enough XP. So we're in like a weird situation where every Pokemon we can grind on is either too high level or too low level, so it's just not very good. That being said, I'm gonna buy a couple more, I'll buy potions for now, because I don't really need more Pokeballs right now. I'll buy more Pokeballs when I get to Mount Moon. But for now, let's just focus on getting past that trainer, and to get past that one trainer, we need to make sure we're all stocked up on potions. So I'm gonna buy even more potions, actually. I think 10 is always a good amount to have, and I don't think that you typically have the liberty of buying 10 at this point in the game, but we're doing pretty good on money. In Gen 2, I don't think we've been doing this good on money. I think Gen 2 is like, from what I've seen, Gen 2 is like really hard to accumulate money in those games. But this is Gen 1. Gen 1, I think, does a decent job of providing you with money early game, because I think that is a big, huge factor in, like, making a Nuzlocke easy, is because, like, early game, you have so little to work with. Like, as you go on, you get more and more encounters, and then you have things in the box, just in case. You have backup mons, you have things that you could, like, bring out at any moment. You just have things that, like, you need to train, but once you do, they'd be good Pokemon to add to the team. It's like, once you have options in a Nuzlocke, it's much easier. But at the beginning, you have no options. You just have, like, very few chances to, like, your Pokemon are low leveled. You can't really, like, get... I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just easier to grind up Pokemon when you have something to grind them with, you know? Like, it's something to switch train into to make it easier, you know? But team building early game is hard, because there's not really a lot of resources that you can use to team build. Like, once you got one big team going, like one good team, then I feel like it becomes much easier. But, like, early game, you need to be grinding up Pokemon. You need to get you need to get Pokemon to good enough levels, and you need Pokemon to not die. Because if your Pokemon are dying early game, you are not building a team. And you need to build the team, like, early on. Otherwise, you're going to reach a point where you simply should have a full team. And then you don't, and that's just, like, a massive problem. So, like, it's just good to build up a team. And if you can't build up a team because if you can't build up a team from the beginning, it is hard to continue to catch Pokemon, because you don't have anything to weaken them with, you know? You need to have Pokemon in order to catch Pokemon. You need to have decent Pokemon in order to get more. that being said, Bone Club is super effective. This is a level 5 Pokemon, so I think this is... If we could just run into a bunch of Magmars, I think that would be pretty good for grinding. It is kind of annoying that we're 10 minutes into this episode and Alice hasn't gained a level. But hey, level 9. That's good. We're on our way, I suppose. I don't want to walk all the way back to the Pokemon Center because that sounds time consuming, but at the same time, I'm not going to risk anything. I've lost this Nuzlocke too many times for me to keep taking stupid risks. So, you know what? Walking all the way back to the Pokemon Center. Sorry, guys. Sorry for wasting all your collective time, but is it really a waste of time if I'm being careful, if I'm doing it in order to prevent more of your time being wasted? Like, y'all don't want to see me lose again, right? So, like, why not take the precautions now in order to prevent more time wasting? That's how I see it. I think it's better to sacrifice a few minutes than to have to, like, lose and have to sacrifice an entire, like, half an hour trying to get back. Half an hour is on the low estimate of how long it would take. This time around, I think it took, like, an hour and 20 minutes. Like, no, I don't think an hour 20 minutes. An hour and, like, 5 minutes, probably, around that, just to get back here. But hey, we're playing it safe, and it takes longer playing it safe, but it's better in the long run, because you're not going to lose Pokemon as easily. That being said, other Magmar. Perfect. This is what we need to be running into. Those other Cubones, we do not have a quick, easy way of taking them down, and they can accumulate a lot of, they can get a lot of damage on us. This is easy. This is like, we're not losing to Magmar. This is a good Pokemon to grind on. The best Pokemon to grind on are Pokemon that are at a decent level comparative to you, so that you get good XP from killing them, but Pokemon that are also not very powerful or have a weakness to a move that you have, so that you can easily defeat them. Like, you don't want them to be too easy to defeat because you don't want them to be easy to defeat because they're low level, because then you're not getting good XP. You want them to be easy to defeat because of other factors, such as type matchups and just base stats. Back to the Pokemon Center. Like I said, playing it safe. And, yeah, I actually have an interesting story. It's about, because I didn't know, at one point in Sword and Shield's lifespan, the lifespan of that game, when that was like the Pokemon game that was out, like the newest one, they did like a shiny thing, where you'd like go to your local GameStop, and they would give you either a shiny Zacian or shiny Zamazenta. And what I did was I told my mom to get me the shiny Zamazenta. Obviously, as I said before, I had Sword, because who would ever get Shield? And so then I'm like, okay, yeah, so get me a shiny Zacian, because, like, obviously, if you have the Sword game, it makes sense that you get the Sword one, right? What I didn't realize is that they're giving you the opposite one, which I suppose is awesome, because, like, then you get the other one in your Pokedex. But at the same time, I did not tell my mom that. I told my mom the direct opposite. I'm like, okay, this is I want Zacian, because Zacian is for Sword. I want Zacian. And then she went there, and she asked about it, and the man at the counter, or woman, could have been a woman, the person at the counter, told her, asked what game I have, and she said that I had Sword. And so they said, oh, so, no, actually, hold on. I don't think that was the question. I think that, so the man or woman at the counter, I'm sure it was like, okay, you need to, so if you get the Zacian, you need Sword. And so, I don't actually know how this story works. It's too much for me to think about. However, I don't really understand how we reached where we got to, but to make a long story short, a long story that I don't understand, basically somehow there was a mix-up, and I ended up with a Zacian and a copy of, I ended up with Zamazenta and a copy of Pokemon Sword. One of those things I already had. Like I said, I'm thinking it out. I'm trying to figure out, like, what exactly happened here. My mom didn't really tell me. She's just like, hey, look, Pokemon, I got you the Zamazenta, and I got you Pokemon Sword. Because they said you needed the other one or whatever, and I'm like, that's the one I have. And she's like, oh. I don't really understand how it happened, but I ended up with a second copy of Pokemon Sword, and Zamazenta. So I took the Zamazenta, my mom returned Pokemon Sword, and everything was all good. But, like, wow. It's just very, very funny to me. Also, speaking of funny things about Pokemon Sword and Shield, Meowth, G-Max Meowth is crazy. I especially love that in the Pokedex entries, they're like, it's the symbol on the coin on its head holds the secret to all Dynamax, and us Westerners are like, Westerners? Is that what it is? The what? I don't know. I've never looked at the compass. I don't know what a compass is. People who are like Americans, right? Not Japanese people. I don't know if what I mean to say is not Japanese people. I don't know what side of the world that is, but us who are not Japanese people are like, oh yeah, I wonder what that symbol means, because it holds the secrets to all of Dynamax. Too bad I can't read it because I'm not Japanese. And then, guys, what I was told, you wouldn't believe the look on my face when I was told that it means big. I think that's awesome. Like, kind of a disappointment, kind of a letdown that the secret to Dynamax is big, but honestly, that's what I would think it is. Like, you're trying to tell me something else? The secret to Dynamax isn't big? Like, what is it? What do you think it is? Because it definitely seems like the secret to Dynamax is big. Like, it definitely seems like that's the truth to me. That seems true enough. It's like, no, the power of the wishing stars, and the wishing stars alter the Pokemon's DNA to enlarge them. It's like, no, it's just big. They get bigger. It's like, yeah. I mean, I guess that is the secret of Dynamax, isn't it? I guess that is how it works. The Pokemon get big. I think that, like, more games should do that, like, Pokemon Sword and Shield thing, where it's like, oh, yeah, here's the file. You have a file in this game, we'll give you something for it. Because I do think that is, like, really cool that they were just like, oh, yeah, you have Let's Go Pikachu, we give you G-Max Pikachu. You have Let's Go Eevee, we give you G-Max Eevee. And I've gotta be honest. I do, upon release, when I first saw the two, I was like, oh my gosh, G-Max Pikachu, he's so chonky, I love him. But I think, upon retrospect, that I prefer G-Max Eevee to G-Max Pikachu. I just like how fluffy it is. I just love the floof around the neck, just like smothering the Pokemon. Like, it looks like Eevee is going to drown in it, and I think that's so funny. Like, it's just an excessive amount of floof. It's like, Eevee, you need a haircut. And I think I think their G-Max move is like is a lot better than Pikachu's. Because like, I think their G-Max move is like G-Max Cuddle or something like that, and it's like Infatuation it gives the Pokemon. And I guess that like Infatuation isn't particularly better than Paralysis, which I believe Pikachu's done. But I've definitely had better luck with Attraction in the past than Paralysis, and I'm sure that that's not actually how it works. I'm sure that it's Paralysis is just better, especially since Attraction can only work on the opposite gender. But like, to me, I always look at Attraction and like, wow, what a busted thing. I remember on Pokemon Showdown, I was doing like Anything Goes, and I had a Vikavolt I put a Vikavolt on the team that just had like Attract and Guillotine. Attract, Double Team, and Guillotine. And I think that's so funny. Like, I went into chat to go brag about like how much work I was putting in. And the chat was like, the Pokemon Showdown chat was like, oh my gosh, Attraction, you are the worst. And I'm like, okay, it's not good, but it's funny. Like, you can't deny it's funny. Like, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I hate you. Like, why would you do that? Because it's funny. Like, I don't think these competitive types understand. Like, unfair is unfair. Whatever, I'll agree, it's unfair. But, like, it's funny, though. It's stupid, yeah. It's stupid and kind of unfair. But it sure is funny. Because, like, imagine being the person who that hits. Like, imagine getting attracted, and then they slowly set up double team on you. And then they start going, and you're like, oh wow, this is so annoying. And then they start going for guillotine. At that point, like... it's like... I'm sure that you can run that on so many Pokemon. Like, I'm sure that a fair amount of Pokemon get access to double team, attract, and guillotine. But I really love Vikavolt. Vikavolt is like in my top 5 favorite Pokemon ever. So I chose to run it on Vikavolt, and I think it's so funny. It was a team, I did a full team of Vikavolts, because obviously I love Vikavolt. And one of them was, and the shiny one, there was one shiny one, and that one shiny one was, of course, the guillotine one. And I think that is so awesome, because it's like, oh, this one is slightly different than the rest, and then it just goes for guillotine, and you're like, well. And it's so good, because, like, they know what you're going for. Like, you go for the first guillotine, and it misses, and they're like, oh no. But it's like, what are they gonna do to prevent it? What do they do from here? Like, they know exactly what you're trying to do, but how do they stop it? Am I clicking, like, the right move? I'm trying to figure out. I'm clicking tackle. I probably shouldn't be clicking tackle. I should probably go for quick attack, because that is, like, the stronger move. Also, why is the Dragonite not attacking me? I'm not complaining, but, like, why not? But yeah. I like Rookadee's shiny. I think I like the lemon of it. I think that, first of all, it's crazy with Rookadee how long it took them to actually do, like, a pure flying type, because I know that there was, like, Tornadus, but, like, a pure flying... Rookadee was, like, the first pure flying type that wasn't a legendary, and I think it's crazy that it took that long. And then, what's wacky is that, like, that doesn't even stay. Like, the final evolution isn't even a pure flying type. Like, it's not even a full pure flying type evolution line, it's just Rookadee. And I think Corvisquire also might be pure flying, because I don't know what other type it would be. But, like, Corvisquire is definitely not Steel like Corviknight, because it just doesn't look like Steel. But I do just like Corviknight's design. I think Corviknight looks edgy as heck. I love, like, the red eyes, and I especially love the G-Max form, where he has, like, the little feather, like, mini birds flying around him. I think that's so cool. And, like, how like, his wings open up, and, like, they have, like, the red glow on them. Because, like, all wings have, all, like, feathers sort of have, like, that little thing that runs down the center. It's like, there's the actual feathery part, and then there's, like, the thing that runs down the center, and that, on the Corviknight, like, all of those that his wings are made out of are red, and I think that is really cool. Like, just the red and black, obviously red and black, just classic, good, just a good color combination. It looks good. And it gives me, honestly, like, obviously, like, the red and black, honestly gives me, like, kind of, like, Shadow the Hedgehog vibes. And, like, who doesn't love Shadow the Hedgehog? I will say, it is not, like, a full black, it's not, like, pitch black, it's, like, a blackish blue with Corviknight, but I think it does the job. And I think that, like, the lighting on the Gigantamax forms, because it's all, like, red lighting, they all have, like, that, oh, I'm going for a move that doesn't affect. Wow, I'm really not paying attention to the game, am I? But, like, the lighting on G-Max forms looks so good on Corviknight. Like, some of the G-Max forms, okay, it looks good on all of them. But, like, particularly Corviknight. I also love Orbitals. Like, Mega Evolutions, I'm sad that we lost Mega Evolutions with Sword and Shield. But, like, it had to happen eventually. Because Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, it was just too much. Like, having Mega Evolutions and Z moves in one game is just obnoxious. It's like, if one game has the gimmicks of another, like, you just keep building those up, then eventually there's just gonna be too many gimmicks, and it's gonna be absurd. So I'm glad, so, like, Mega Evolutions had to go at some point. But I feel like what makes people really miss them is, like, how long they were around for. Because, like, nobody really misses Gigantamax forms, I feel. Like, looking back at Sword and Shield now, I feel like nobody really misses G-Max forms. Like, they were pretty good. But people don't miss G-Max forms how they miss Mega Evolution. Like, Dynamaxing and G-Maxing was... Dynamaxing is lame. Pokemon gets beak. But G-Maxing is pretty cool. Like, I don't think people really don't miss that like they do Mega Evolution. And I think that a major factor of that is... First of all, Mega Evolution is cooler, obviously. Like, I'm not gonna downplay how much cooler Mega Evolution is in comparison to Gigantamax. But, like, I think that if we had gotten more time with Dynamax and Gigantamax, people would have missed it more. I think just the time factor makes Mega Evolution so much more memorable, because it wasn't like Sun and Moon. It wasn't like Z Crystals, where it was just Gen 7. And it wasn't like Dynamax, where it was just Gen 8. It lasted from Gen 6 to Gen 7, all those games. Like, even from the 3DS onto the Switch. Even into Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. It's like, Mega Evolution was around for much longer than any of the other gimmicks, so to see it go, I feel, was much more impactful. And, like, I hope Mega Evolution comes back, and I think, at some point, maybe it will. Maybe that's just hopeful thinking, but, like, I feel like it's come back in one form or another pretty often, every once in a while. Like, it just comes back somehow, like, they just, like, hey, remember this? Like, I don't think Game Freak has forgotten about it, and the fanbase definitely has not. That being said, this girl, who last time sent out a Ghastly against us, now has an Execute. Funny how the turns have tables, isn't it? Because now... Actually, this is also pretty bad. Execute is not, like, the worst. But for our team, this is pretty bad. I'm just gonna hope that this thing doesn't have a Grass-type move. It might just have, like, Leech Seed or something. Hypnosis. Okay. Olivia fell asleep, which is not very good. No Grass-type moves? No Grass-type moves. I'll just take that as no Grass-type moves. I really hope that it's using Barrage because it has no Grass-type moves. Like, certainly. That's the only reason why I would be using Barrage, right? If it had a Grass-type move, it would go for it, because it's super effective. And I think that all the time. Like, oh, it would go for the super effective move. If it had a super effective move, it would have gone for it by now. And then I'll be at half health, and then it'll start going for a super effective move. And they're like, well, now I'm in trouble. So I really don't want to say that. But at the same time, it's gone for Barrage 3 times in a row, which makes me think it really doesn't have any other attacking moves. Which is making me feel pretty safe. But I don't want to let my guard down just yet. So anyway, yeah. I just think that, like, Mega Evolution may come back at some point. I don't know about other gimmicks, but Mega Evolution was around for longer than any of them. So I feel like they're not content to let it go forever. Just yet. I feel like there is a possibility that it will come back. And maybe not in the main series. But it will be back in some form, I'm sure. Because it's just like, the fans like it. It's not just like, oh yeah... It's like, the fans like it significantly more than any other gimmick they've introduced, I feel. I don't know about Scarlet Violet. I haven't seen a lot of Scarlet Violet content because I really don't want to spoil myself. And I get that the game came out, like, a year ago at this point. But I still don't want to spoil myself. I'm just like that. I don't finish games. And yet I don't want to spoil myself in case I ever do. So I just don't watch content on tons of games. Because I think, oh, well, maybe play it. I'll maybe finish it at some point. And, like, I'd like to mention, going spoiler-free for games is not that hard. Because I do it with, like, so many games. I've been doing it for years with some games. Like, I don't think going spoiler-free is that difficult. I think it just takes a little bit of willpower to, like, just... If you think a YouTuber might mention it, stay away from that YouTuber. Watch someone else. I just sort of stopped watching a bunch of PokeTubers when Scarlet and Violet came out because I just didn't want to get spoiled. Like, just staying spoiler-free is not difficult. It's just a battle against yourself, really. A battle of willpower. Like, What are you willing to sacrifice in order to stay spoiler-free? Who are you willing to not watch for the time being? What content are you willing to not consume in order to stay spoiler-free? Because, like, certainly, you could just, like, watch something else, right? Like, I don't know about y'all, but I have a lot of YouTubers that I watch. So if I don't want to get spoiled on Pokemon, I just won't watch a Pokemon YouTuber. It's that simple. And, like, I think that, and even then, like, even if you don't have a lot of YouTubers you watch, then, like, just go back and watch past content, you know, while you're waiting. It's like, you really don't want to get spoiled, then I just don't think you should chance it. I think it's simple as just don't chance it. Because Legends Arceus, I got when it came out. Still haven't beaten, still remain spoiler-free, pretty much. Except for the final boss, I remain spoiler-free at that game. Will I beat it? At some point? Yeah, probably. Will it be anytime soon? Probably not. But will I remain spoiler-free until I do? Yeah, probably. Because I just have... As long as I continue to want to, I'm sure I can continue to do so. But anyway, that is that rotten trainer finally defeated. So I guess that is the end of this episode. I'm going to heal up, and then I'll end it off. So, Eevee Clan, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you all like and subscribe for more. And, we are officially past the point that we got killed at in episode 1. So we are officially now in uncharted territory. So, look forward to it, everyone. Look forward to what comes next, because I'm really excited to finally be about to do new things. So, thank you so much for watching, Eevee Clan, and this is Alex Espion, signing off.